valuable of information that we need to bring to you to put it into it. You see it in the media every day. Sadly, there is a student or two, if not more, this is going to hit home and be real world, real life for them. And you need to know that we have open doors here, and any one of you at any time could come meet with us or share anything that we may need to know as administrators to help your situation.
Hello, juniors and seniors. I am Ellen Baker.
And I'm Megan Gamble.
We are the presidents of the No More Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault Club here at Great Valley High School. This program advocates for the victims and offers an abundance of services to people nationwide. We brought you here today to discuss an impending issue on each and every one, which is sexual assault and rape on college campuses.
Today we have Amelia Rayburn here from the DVCCC, Elizabeth Pitts from Swarthmore College, and Ann Giuliano from Villanova Law School. We also have students who are passionate enough to put themselves in victims' shoes and to read testimonies.
Through all of this, you will all learn about your personal safety, the rights you have as a victim, and how to destigmatize sexual assault. And just a disclaimer, if anyone feels like upset by any of the content shown in this assembly, you are free to go excuse yourself and talk to someone in student services.
It's important for you guys to know that 1.5 million teens experience dating abuse each year, and 1 in 3 teens will experience it in some sort: emotional, mental, verbal, or physical abuse in a relationship. What we call the honeymoon phase. It's very loving. It's very romantic. It's very involved. It might seem like it's moving a little fast, but it's exciting. The abuser, the partner, they want to earn your trust and your admiration. They want to get you invested in this relationship. But then over time, we see the tension building phase of things. We see red flag behaviors, little things happening in the relationship that we might not think are abusive, but they're definitely not okay, right? And they might make us a little bit uncomfortable, but you know, that honeymoon phase, things are really good and really in love, so we might overlook them. But eventually there will be an explosion. It doesn't have to be physical violence, right? It can be emotional, it can be verbal, but it's going to be a situation that makes the victim kind of step back and say, all right, whoa, that wasn't okay. All right, so the next side is about helping a friend. And this is something I can talk at length about, but I want to be as quick as possible. The first thing is freedom through empowerment. That's our motto at the Domestic Violence Center. We want to empower our clients to leave abusive, dangerous, unhealthy relationships. And the way that we empower them is by helping them become independent. All right? It takes 5 to 7 times statistically for someone to break up and get back together and break up and get back together with an unhealthy partner before they finally leave that relationship. So I know as a friend, that can be really frustrating. You hear all these awful things that your friend's going through, and you know, you hate this person. And you kind of want to say to your friend, like, oh my God, what is wrong with you? Why do you keep getting back together with this person? You know, I can't even hear, you know, all your stories anymore. I don't want to even listen to it if you're going to keep getting back together. That can be so frustrating. But the fact of the matter is that's not how you're helping someone. I'm not going to break up with my abusive partner and feel comfortable walking into a group of friends who's ready to say, told you so, I've been telling you the whole time. That's not supportive. That's not empowering, right? So then the question is, how do we help our friends in this situation? And I always say, draw a stark contrast between what love really looks like and what their relationship looks like, right? Okay, I'm not your boyfriend, I'm not your girlfriend, but I love you because I am one of your best good friends, right? And love is love. It doesn't matter if it's friend love, romantic love, what have you. And it can lead to stalking and serious things. So it's important to consider that. And then finally, it's okay to lie if you're in a situation that makes you uncomfortable. You don't have to say, hey, I feel really uncomfortable, I don't uneasy about what's happening here, so I think I'm going to leave, you know. That might be awkward for you. It's okay to lie. Listen, I don't really feel well. I think my roommates and I are going to get out of here. Come on, guys, we got to go. Or like, oh, so-and-so called me, they're coming and picking us up around the corner, we gotta go. It's okay to lie, it's okay to tell a white lie to get out of the situation, right? It's okay to fib. So the last thing that's important, and we can just pop those out there, is to understand healthy relationships. What does a healthy relationship look like? Yeah, we talked all about violence and what abuse looks like, but what does a healthy relationship look like? These are things that you should check yes to if you're considering your own relationship. Do they respect you, your boundaries, your individuality, your independence? Do they respect your friends, your family? Do they respect you as an equal partner in this relationship? Do they support you and your choices and your dreams and your goals, your opinions about things, your feelings about things? Are they supportive of that, or do they just brush it off? Do they trust you? That's the one we can't see. Trust is a huge aspect. If I don't have trust in my relationship, I don't have a healthy relationship, period. So trust is important. Are they honest with you? Are you honest with them? Do they make you feel safe? Are they open to positive, constructive communication within a relationship? These are important things. But finally, the biggest is, do you feel valued and confident and happy exactly as you are? Because in a healthy relationship, that is what you need. Okay? So up here is some information about the Domestic Violence Center, and there's more out there. I will be out there. But we've been serving the victims of domestic violence for 41 years now. Our main office is in Westchester, but we have offices in Phoenixville, which I know is closer to here, Oxford, Kennett Square, and Coatesville. And they are all completely free. We are a nonprofit, so all of our services are free. They are completely confidential, and they are available to you, to teens. Things like our 24-hour hotline, legal representation. You can get an attorney to help you get a PFA, which is a protection from abuse order, like a restraining order in a violent relationship. But we also offer individual counseling and group counseling programs for anyone who might need those. And then finally up here also some other resources that are available to you. The National Teen Hotline, No More campaign, that's their website there. The Love is Respect campaign's website. Our hotline number, our Facebook, we share a ton of local events and information that would be helpful. Our website, but also your school counselors, the No More Club, right? Your teachers, your administrators here. These are all people that are here for you.
I think a lot of times people think that rape isn't the issue, or because it isn't sexual intercourse without consent, that means there's no issue. So sexual assault is the whole range of sexual contact without consent. Someone's grabbing your butt in the hallway and you don't want them to, that's assault. There was a news story some number of years ago where a little boy, maybe kindergarten, maybe first grade, was suspended from school for sexual harassment because he had kissed a girl on the playground who didn't want to be kissed. Right? We all roll our eyes, we're ridiculous, and we probably say words like liberals and political correctness and snowflake or something, right? So we're like, that's preposterous, it's little kids on the playground. So you're like, okay, maybe the kindergartner shouldn't be suspended. So maybe not the third grader. I mean, how old are third graders? 9, that's ridiculous. Sixth grader who's kissing somebody who doesn't want to be kissed? Like, at what age are we saying, actually, you don't get to kiss somebody who doesn't want to be kissed? Okay, so we're talking about the whole range of behaviors. You also need to try and get everybody to break out of the slut-prude dichotomy. You're either a slut or a prude. Just because someone had sex with 1 or 2 or 12 people doesn't actually mean they want to have sex with you. When I ask people in class, when I say, should we adopt what's known as affirmative consent, which a lot of colleges are adopting now. And affirmative consent means you have to say yes. There's no consent unless the person says yes. What's the downside to awkward, other than momentary uncomfortability? What are we really worried about? If I ask the person if they're sure they want to have sex, they're going to think about it and decide the answer is no. That she'll think I'm so ridiculous that she'll leave. That the situation will be so awkward that it'll be over and I won't get any. Right? That's what people think is going to happen. Well, if the other person doesn't say yes, they don't get any either, right? You've heard some of the numbers. My students wanted me to tell you, because there's 600 people in this room, and you've heard the numbers, somebody in this room has been sexually assaulted. Someone's dealt with it, more than one of you. 1 in 3 teens in the U.S. will experience physical, sexual, or emotional abuse by someone they're in a relationship with before they become adults. 1.5 million high school students nationwide experience physical abuse from a dating partner in a single year. And only a third of teens who were in a violent relationship ever told anyone about it. If someone says I was raped, that doesn't mean you're booted out of college. That's not the way it works. You're going to hear all about procedures and investigations. And so what I want you to know is that there are people who are trained who investigate these kinds of claims.
When we refer to Title IX, we're referencing Title IX of the Educational Amendments Act dated June 23, 1972. And this is what the statute actually reads. No person in the United States shall, on the basis of sex, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any education program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. Students must be protected from sexual harassment, sex-based discrimination, sexual assault, anything that would impair or impinge upon their ability to participate fully in their educational experience. But what most schools primarily want for their students is that they feel safe and they feel heard. It is not just a matter of schools protecting themselves from liability. There is a sincere desire by schools to provide a compassionate and effective response to sexual assault and intimate partner violence. When complaints are mishandled, students have options and recourse against the institution. Nevertheless, no college or university wants students to feel that they have not been genuinely heard or adequately helped. If a student is found responsible through the student disciplinary process, sanctions could include probation, suspension, or expulsion from the institution. The types of cases that colleges and universities typically encounter are probably not that different from the kinds of cases that happen in high school. Very often, the sexual assault and intimate partner violence cases that are reported have in some way an alcohol or drug component. And I suspect that this is true for many situations in high school. But what is a little different is that on a college campus, students are living with other young people and experiencing a significant level of unrestricted freedom. Generally, students can come and go as they wish. They can regulate their own schedules and behaviors. Often they have access to alcohol and drugs. Unfortunately, alcohol and drugs are frequently mentioned in reported sexual assaults and incidents of intimate partner violence. To be clear, I am not suggesting that drugs or alcohol are the causes of sexual assault. However, it is significant to mention that drugs and alcohol can make people vulnerable and often impair their judgment. One should never make assumptions or believe that silence is acquiescence to sexual interactions.
I am an adult male survivor of sexual abuse by my parents. The abuse began in my early childhood and continued until my adolescent years. By its very nature, sexual abuse also entails physical, psychological, and emotional abuse. These later forms of abuse from my parents continued into my adulthood. Like all children, I sought a bond with my parents, a bond of love, trust, safety, and nurturing support. As a child, I was instead just merely equipped with coping mechanisms to escape the savage and brutal invasion of sexual abuse.
As I reached adolescence, I turned to alcohol and drugs and used them to escape the brokenness I felt. I soon enough realized the addictive nature of those substances. By my high school years, I fell prey to what is known as the result of the grooming process. For me, grooming resulted in focus upon my appearance, intellect, and physical exercise, manifesting an illusion of perfection to cover my wounded self within. The reality of the situation was that during all these years, I was suffering intense panic attacks, severe depression, suicidal ideology, guilt, and shame. My relationships with women were always sexually based and hopelessly permeated with desperation on my part to not be abandoned. It was a self-fulfilling prophecy. Several years ago, my mental health had deteriorated to the point where I was afraid of everything. I was afraid to get out of bed, afraid to fall asleep, afraid to get up, afraid to get dressed, afraid of everything. Flashbacks began to rule my life. Post-traumatic stress disorder kept me on a constant hypervigilance, and all this was the result of sexual abuse.
Through the course of individual counseling, I started to peel away the layers of the sickening secret I had been carrying. For the first time in my life, I received help to begin to trust in and believe in myself. It has not been an overnight process, but each step, however difficult, reinforced that I am indeed a survivor and that I can rely on my instincts to thrive. Along with continued individual therapy, joining a men's therapy group has become an important part of my recovery. At first, I was afraid of joining the group. I had learned to distrust and dislike men, and yet, as I trusted more in myself, I found in this men's group other men who had walked on a similar path of abuse and survivorship. In sharing our stories with each other, I realized that I was not alone. I began to feel unity, empowerment, and trust from some of the bravest men I've ever met.
I started dating a guy freshman year that I fell head over heels for. He took my virginity that year, and I later found out he was cheating on me. I thought I could give him a second chance and he would change, but that was a mistake. We dated on and off for 3 years because I thought he was the best I could get. Through all the years, though, he became a heroin addict. He forced sex upon me all the time, even in public places. When he would shoot up, he would hurt me, choke me, hit me, and tell me if I didn't do drugs with him, he would put it in my arm for me. I never did them, but he became more and more disrespectful and hurtful. He started to become a huge threat in my life. In the end, the outcome was a horrible heartbreak, a waste of 3 years. I later found out he cheated on me with over 9 girls.
He lied, was manipulative, and very controlling. He always twisted things around and made it seem like my fault. A lot of girls stay in abusive relationships because they have not met a good guy yet. They may be insecure and may not have a good relationship with their fatherly figures. After being treated like crap for years, I realized that I thought it was normal for a boyfriend to treat their girlfriend like that. I would put up with so much in hopes that he would maybe change. I met a guy this year who respects me and does not lie straight to my face. He has changed my whole point of view. He has made me realize that I didn't deserve a single thing that jerk did to me. I just hope more girls realize that and don't continue to blame themselves for their significant other's behavior. No one deserves to be treated that way.
On the morning of September 20th, 2 weeks before the warship was due in port, 3 men ambushed me in a very remote storage area of the ship, where I had been sent to get some supplies. They threw a black hood over my head so I couldn't see their faces. All 3 of them strangled and sodomized me. After they were done, they just left me for dead on a stack of supplies. At the time, there was no way I could bring myself to tell anybody on the ship. I was certain that these attackers, whose faces I hadn't even glimpsed, would surely kill me if I were to speak out in the slightest.
For a while, I just hid in the bathroom until I was able to contain my panic and tolerate the pain shooting through me. Then, simply and quietly, I returned to my post. I truly think I might have killed myself were it not for my father's imminent arrival. The timing of the visit was almost a miracle. When I saw him, it was definitely the most safe feeling I have ever felt in my entire life. So he and I, father and son, spent the next 5 days on the boarded ship, almost certainly being watched by the 3 attackers. I just kept it inside. There was no way I would have been able to tell him about it then.
His eyes, personality, physical appearance, everything about him makes you smile and light up from the inside out. You love him and would do anything for him. That's how I felt about my ex-boyfriend. Each day, I would get up and check my phone right away to see if he texted me. All I wanted all the time was to see him and always be around him. He made me feel like the girl with the nearly perfect boyfriend that the other girls were jealous of. He made me so happy that I would have dropped everything for him. Stupid, I know. But love can make people do strange things. He asked me not to talk to or see my ex-boyfriend. That same week, my ex had come up and talked to me, but some people told my boyfriend before I even had the chance to. I didn't have the chance to explain to him that I told my ex-boyfriend that we couldn't talk anymore. My boyfriend felt angry and lied to, perhaps betrayed.
As time went by, I could just feel the walls closing in, the door shutting, and hearing the click of the lock in my head. I lost all my friends, privacy, and so much more. I wasn't allowed to talk to anyone, not even my girlfriends I'd had for 11 years. My phone was checked by him to make sure I wasn't talking to anyone but him, and that no one was trying to talk to me. My Facebook page was deactivated, and so was my email. Every day I had to tell him where I was on campus and what class I was leaving or going to. All the people around me were saying I shouldn't let him do that, blaming him, and telling me I needed to get out of the situation before it got any worse, but I ignored them. I really thought he loved me. Having to isolate myself from everything hurt a lot, being alone every moment when I was away from him, but the only reason I put up with it without protest was that the minor thought of losing him seemed 10 times harder than being alone. When I tried to leave, he knew how to pull me back in. I felt like I was just a chess piece in his mental game. I couldn't tell anyone and tried not to show it, but it was difficult. In the end, he decided I was no longer needed and just cut off communication with me altogether. At the time, it hurt, but now I see getting out of that controlling relationship was the best thing that could have happened to me.
I was raped my freshman year of college, reported it that night, and then went through a grueling, terrible 9-month investigation. During this 9-month investigation, I was asked questions like, what were you wearing? How much were you drinking? Why were you walking by yourself? Are you sure you didn't flirt with him? And my personal favorite, this group of boys saw you walking with the alleged rapist, and they say you look willing. Why would they say that if it wasn't true? They also repeatedly said things like, he feels really bad, and he was crying in his interview. I said, well, that's good, because if you do something awful, you should feel terrible. And also, guess who feels worse about me being raped? I do. It blew my mind that they wanted me to pity him. Because of a technicality, my rapist got off with nothing more than a slap on the wrist, and I had to see him every day for the next 4 years. The rape itself was traumatic, of course, but the trial process afterwards is what shattered my life and will negatively affect me for as long as I live. It taught me that the college cared more about their reputation and sweeping things under the rug than about me. That my body and PTSD were worthless and unimportant. That even when a victim has the courage to step forward and report what happened to them, which is rare, they will suffer worse treatment than if they had just kept quiet. That our culture is filled to the brim with rape apologists who perpetuate rape culture, and that because of them, rape will continue shattering lives. Because while rapists are the only ones to blame for the rape apologists are the ones to blame for continuing the cycle of rape.
Matt and I met at the age of 16. I was a happy, healthy, and confident teenage girl. He opened up to me immediately, sharing the struggles with his family life growing up. It made me feel trusted and loved. He told me that how his father was abusive to his mother and he hated him for it. With the amazing upbringing I had experienced, it was difficult for me to imagine living in a violent environment. I wanted to support him and be there for him in any way he needed me. I happily took on the task of making him feel loved and supported no matter what. It was me who was going to show him unconditional love. Our relationship started as a dream. We were young and I thought I was in love. For the first 6 to 8 months, everything was great. We were obsessed with each other. I knew that drove my parents crazy. And I wanted to be with him 24/7, and he with me. Slowly, little things were said that I initially thought came from a caring place. Wow, you look like you've gained a little weight, and I don't like when you wear those shorts. They are way too short. I just love you so much, I hate it when other men look at you.
It made me feel like he loved me so much that it hurt him when other men paid attention to me. It made sense to me that the least I could do was not wear shorts that attracted the attention that made him so uncomfortable. Gradually, his behavior changed. He no longer spoke to me about his issues. Instead, he became angry when I did things he did not approve of. It no longer felt like he was concerned for me, but that he hated me. To him, I was fat, ugly, and I dressed like a whore. Each and every day, I heard all these insults, and many more from the person I thought loved me, until I no longer knew who he was. His obsession with controlling me got so bad, I would have panic attacks deciding what I would wear for the day. If I wore something or did anything he did not like, I was verbally abused, screamed at, and then he began to hit, choke, slap me, and even spat in my face a few times. It got to the point that I felt I could no longer figure out what I did to set him off. I just knew that when he reached a certain point of anger, there was nothing I could do to stop it. I just had to keep my head down and wait for it to be over. I could not talk to any males without his permission, and if I was not with him, I had to wait for his call.
I stayed in a relationship and endured the abuse for 2 years. The acts of verbal abuse and physical violence were endless. Around the age of 19, the violence got so bad I feared for my safety like I never had before. The physical violence and his paranoia were escalating. Being choked became a regular occurrence. I knew in my gut I needed to end the relationship. I just had to figure out how to do that. I cannot begin to count the number of times I attempted to break up with him. When I would try, he would threaten the safety of me and my family, or threaten to commit suicide. He would call me saying he was standing on the edge of a cliff ready to jump if I did not get back together with him. I would drive to the cliff and beg him to get away from the edge. The pressure of feeling like I literally had his life in my hands was too much for me to handle at the age of 19. I felt more helpless each time I attempted to break up. The threats against my family terrified me, and I would never forgive myself if something happened to any of them. It was worth dealing with the pain alone to prevent Matt from killing himself and anyone from my family from being hurt.